Apple just confirmed something about the iPhone 18 Pro Max. And I don't mean confirmed in the exciting keynote way. I mean confirmed in the a supplier accidentally said the quiet part out loud at a shareholders meeting way. The base iPhone 18 is not coming this fall, not to you, not to anyone. And the Pro Max that is coming has a problem Apple already knows about and has decided to do nothing about. There's one specific thing buried in this week's leaks that every other breakdown is glossing over. We'll get to it. But it changes how I'd think about spending $1,200 on this phone. This video covers 3 things that broke in the last 48 hours about the iPhone 18 Pro Max. Only the iPhone 18 Pro models will debut this fall. The base model is held back until spring 2027. A known Weibo leaker has reiterated that the iPhone 18 Pro will retain its aluminum alloy build while issuing a specific warning that the new color options may be susceptible to paint peeling. And there's a challenger phone dropping at the exact same time that, on paper, embarrasses the Pro Max on 2 of its most marketed specs. So if you're planning to spend $1,200 this September, this is the video. Let's start with the headline. Apple's standard iPhone 18 model will launch in early 2027. Apple typically works on an annual smartphone launch cycle, releasing the entirety of its latest flagship iPhone series in the fall. That appears set to change this year. Multiple reports claim the base iPhone 18 model will be held over until spring 2027, and only the iPhone 18 Pro models will debut this year alongside Apple's first foldable iPhone. And here's where this stops being a rumor. Speaking at Largan Precision's annual shareholders meeting, Chairman Lin Ping said a major U.S. customer had postponed the launch of a new model to the first quarter of 2027, shifting component procurement later into the year. Lin did not identify the customer or product, but Largan is Apple's primary supplier of iPhone camera lenses. So the remarks are notable in light of reports that the standard iPhone 18 will not launch alongside Apple's higher-end models. The chairman of the company that literally makes Apple's camera lenses said that at a public shareholders meeting. That's not a leak, that's a confession. So what does Apple launch in September instead? Apple's fall 2026 iPhone launch will include the 6.3-inch iPhone 18 Pro, the 6.9-inch iPhone 18 Pro Max, and the new foldable iPhone, around 5.5 inches when closed and approximately 7.8 inches when open. And why is Apple doing this staggered split? Industry leakers suggest this staggered release is a remarkably clever cost control mechanism. Global component shortages have driven up the price of memory and advanced displays. Rather than raising prices on the base models and risking consumer backlash, Apple is taking the extra 6 months to lower production costs, which, honestly, fair. I'd rather wait 6 months than pay $200 more for a phone I didn't need yet. But it does mean this, yet if you're not going pro, there is no iPhone 18 for you in 2026. And that matters because the Pro Max is going to command every ounce of Apple's attention this fall. So it better be worth it. Okay, here's the part that actually frustrated me. The iPhone 17 Pro moved away from the titanium frames Apple used in its Pro lineup for the previous 2 years, adopting an anodized aluminum unibody design. Surface durability concerns surfaced almost immediately after launch. A separate issue emerged the following month when a number of Cosmic Orange iPhone 17 Pro owners reported color shift, with the aluminum frame and camera plateau drifting toward a rose gold or pink hue, in some cases prompting device replacements by Apple support. That's a $1099 phone turning pink in your pocket. And what did Apple classify that as? According to the Weibo leaker Fixed Focus Digital, surface chipping on the iPhone 17 Pro has become a common complaint. and users who have sought recourse from Apple have been told they cannot claim it, with the company classifying the issue as an inherent characteristic of the aluminum alloy material and normal wear and tear. Normal wear and tear on a 1099 phone that you've had for 2 months. So, the obvious question, did Apple fix this for the iPhone 18 Pro Max? The iPhone 18 Pro will reportedly carry over the same anodized aluminum finish introduced with the iPhone 17 Pro, despite concerns from some users about its durability. No, they did not fix it. And the leaker didn't just confirm that, they issued a specific warning. In a new Weibo post, the leaker Fixed Focus Digital said the iPhone 18 Pro will still feature an aluminum alloy build and noted that heat dissipation is indeed excellent. The leaker then added a pointed caveat. Anyone unfamiliar with the durability problems that plagued the iPhone 17 Pro should be careful about potential paint peeling issues with the new color options. A leaker warning you about the phone they're leaking. That's a new genre. Now, here's the one nuance I'll give Apple on this. The Pro iPhone models are unlikely to return to titanium in the near future due to the heat dissipation demands of local AI. This is the trade-off for having a softer metal. The softer metal will chip and does not remain color fast. The counterpoint is it can wick heat away from the heat pipes much better than other material options. So they're not being reckless. There's a real engineering reason, but it runs cooler is a hard sell when your dark cherry finish is flaking off in your palm. Speaking of the new colors, rumors point to 4 color options for the iPhone 18 Pro models: dark cherry, light blue, dark gray, and silver. Dark cherry is expected to serve as the signature new color, described as a deep wine-like red that is considerably more muted than last year's cosmic orange. Reports indicated that the dark blue and cosmic orange models appear to scratch more easily than other colors. Users reported visible scratches on display models in stores just days after the phones went on sale. If that pattern holds, light blue is probably the one I'd be nervous about. Just saying. All right, I've been critical. Let me be fair, because the iPhone 18 Pro Max does have some genuinely exciting things happening under the hood. Apple's high-end iPhone Fold will get most of the attention in 2026, but there are some useful upgrades planned for the iPhone 18 Pro models, including Apple's first 2-nanometer chip with performance and efficiency improvements. The A20 chip could be much more expensive than prior generation A-series chips because of the 2-nanometer technology. Apple supplier TSMC has apparently told Apple that 2-nanometer chip pricing will be at least 50% higher than 3-nanometer processors because of the cost of manufacturing and equipment, 50% more expensive to make. And yet, Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo does not believe that Apple will raise the price of the iPhone 18 Pro models, with the company instead absorbing the added memory costs to gain market share. Analyst Jeff Pugh believes Apple will adopt an aggressive pricing strategy despite ongoing global memory shortages. He predicts Apple will keep the starting price of the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max the same or with minimal increases. So Apple eats the cost to keep you from switching. That's actually unusual and worth paying attention to. Now, the camera. One of the most anticipated features is a variable aperture system for the main 48 megapixel Fusion camera, which would allow dynamic control over depth of field and low light performance. Triple 48 megapixel rear cameras with a variable aperture main lens for better photo control, up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, and continued Apple Intelligence enhancements. Variable aperture on a smartphone camera is genuinely exciting. It means the camera physically adjusts how much light it lets in, like a real camera. In practice, better low light shots, more creative depth control, less of that over-processed computational photography look that makes everything look like a painting. That's a real upgrade, not a spec sheet upgrade. And the battery? The iPhone 18 Pro Max is rumored at approximately 5,100 milliamp hours. Combined with Apple's first in-house C2 5G modem, this should translate to dramatically longer runtime, potentially 1.5 to 2 days of heavy use for many owners. In 2025 tests, the iPhone 17 Pro Max already topped many battery rankings despite similar or smaller capacity than Android rivals, proving Apple's efficiency advantage. The 2026 iPhone 18 upgrade could widen that gap. If that plays out, the best battery life of any iPhone ever on the most efficient chip Apple's made. That's not incremental. That's the story of the year. But here's where I need to introduce a complication. There's a phone coming in September that nobody in Western tech media is covering. And on paper, it makes the Pro Max look like it's going through a midlife crisis. The Oppo Find X10 Pro is expected around the same time as the flagship iPhone. Oppo is expected to launch the whole Find X10 series in September, including the flagship Find X10 Pro. The device may feature a 200 megapixel main camera with a 1.3-inch sensor made by Samsung, a 200 megapixel telephoto camera, and a 3 megapixel multispectral sensor, alongside an unspecified ultra-wide shooter. The Find X10 Pro is also expected to feature a battery with at least 8,000 milliamp hours of capacity. 8,000 milliamp hours. The Pro Max is at 5,100, 200 megapixels versus 48 megapixels. On paper, it's not a competition, but here's the thing. Apple is unlikely to react strongly to Oppo's improvements, at least for the foreseeable future. The Chinese company's phones are not sold in the US and have limited global release, which means they can't truly compete with any iPhone. If you're in the US, this phone doesn't exist for you, practically. But if you're in Europe, Southeast Asia, or the Middle East, the Find X10 Pro is a real option. And 200 megapixels versus 48 megapixels is going to be a genuine decision you'll have to make. The numbers race is getting ridiculous. But Apple's counter-argument, and it's a legitimate one, is that megapixels don't equal image quality. Rather than chasing larger numbers, Apple appears focused on delivering smarter photography tools that improve real-world results. If the leaks prove accurate, the iPhone 18 Pro Max could become one of the most significant camera-focused upgrades the company has released in years. I believe that. But I also know that our 48 megapixels is smarter than their 200 megapixels is a harder conversation to have when people see those numbers side by side on a spec sheet. And this is the part that will matter at the decision counter. So should you buy the iPhone 18 Pro Max? Here's my honest take. If you're on an iPhone 15 or older, yes, the A20 chip, the variable aperture camera, and a potentially 2-day battery are collectively the biggest reason to upgrade in 3 years. Do it. If you're on an iPhone 16 Pro Max, wait. The improvements are real, but they're not spend $1,200 real over what you already have. If you're on an iPhone 17 Pro Max, absolutely not. You already have the best iPhone Apple has ever made. Nothing here is urgent, but here's the thing I want you to sit with. Apple knows about the aluminum paint problem. The iPhone 18 Pro will continue to utilize this same design approach despite its weaknesses. They know they chose to keep it anyway. And their reason, the heat dissipation argument, is real, but so is the risk of a $1,200 phone whose finish peels and whose paint shifts color in 2 months. My advice, if you're getting dark cherry or light blue, buy a case, a real one, not the thin one you tell yourself you'll use. The iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max are expected to be announced in September 2026 alongside the first foldable iPhone. That's the event I'll be covering here when it happens. I'm curious, does the aluminum situation actually bother you? Or are you someone who cases their phone anyway and doesn't care? Drop it in the comments because that answer probably determines whether this phone is a no brainer or a wait and see.